Hi friends, in this video let us understand pollination biology from the basics to the detail within 5 to 10 minutes. The pollination is simply the transfer of pollen from anther to the stigma of a flower. There are different types of pollination. It can be broadly classified into self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination can be of two types, either autogamy, that is happening within the same flower as in bee flower, or chaetonogamy, that is between flowers of the same plant. Remember, both these lead to genetically identical plants. So chaetonogamy is in the case of maize, corn, etc. Cross-pollination, it's also called as xenogamy or allogamy, that is happening between different plants that leads to genetic diversity as in apple, mango, etc. Sometimes the flowers are clistogamous, that means closed flowers that ensures self-pollination as in viola and peanut. Then there are chasmogamous flowers or chasmogamy. Flowers are open, bright, showy as in rose, hibiscus, etc. that generally favors cross-pollination. But there are some flowers which are chasmogamous like tomato flower that are self-pollinated. So this is about the types of pollination. Now what happens after pollination? So pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigmatic surface. Once it reaches the stigmatic surface, it germinates by forming a pollen tube, and there are two male gametes. One of the male gamete fuses with the female gamete. It is called as fusion or syngamy, forming the zygote. The second male gamete fuses with the secondary nucleus. Two polar nuclei combine to form a diploid secondary nucleus, and this male gamete fuses with that secondary nucleus, forming a triploid endosperm or diploid tissue that later becomes endosperm. So there are two fertilization happening. First, the fusion of male gamete with the female gamete. Second, the fusion of second male gamete with the secondary nucleus. That is why in flowering plants or angiosperm it is called as double fertilization. This endosperm serves as nutritive tissue later, and finally these lead to the zygote, the development of zygote, and finally lead to seed formation. So we have given a detailed video on double fertilization that is happening in angiosperm, so you can refer that for more. Now moving to the second aspect, what are pollinating agents that is working for this pollination? There are different types of plants. Some are wind-pollinated. They are called as Anemophilous, like grasses. So there are some specialities like small, inconspicuous or flowers without scent or nectar, as it is not needed, as they are wind-pollinated. Hanging anthers, which are flexible, large, feathery stigma. Pollen is light, dry, produced in large quantities that is carried away by the wind. Stigma is large, feathery or sticky. Classical examples include rice, maize, wheat. Then pinus, there is sulfur shower. All are wind-pollinated flowers. Now let us see the insect-pollinated flowers. So these insect-pollinated flowers are called endomophilous flowers. As there is a pollinator, these flowers are large, brightly colored with bright showy petals, and it produces nectar and scent as reward for these pollinators. The pollen is rough and sticky that attaches to the surface of these insects. Nectar gates are present. So these flowers are insect-pollinated. They are called endomophilous, and these are the adaptations of insect-pollinated flowers. And the third category is the animal-pollinated flowers. They are generally called as zoophilous flowers. For example, this boabab and agave is pollinated by bats. It is specifically called chiropterophily. If it is pollinated by birds, it is called as ornithophily. If by snails, it is called as malacophily, like that. So the adaptations include robust flowers, bowl-shaped flowers for support. The shape is in tune with the pollinator. Large nectar volume with less concentrated sugar, musky floral scent. Then there is explosive opening mechanisms. In the case of squirrels, upon touching the plant, there is an explosive opening mechanism as in mucuna. There are different animals that is involved in pollination like birds, bats, snails, rodents, squirrels, etc. So this is about the pollinating agents. Now let us dive into the third part of the story, that is the advantage of cross-pollination and self-pollination. So cross-pollination ensures genetic diversity. There are different flowers of different plants are involved. That leads to hybrid vigor or the offspring with superior qualities. And there will be evolutionary resilience as these plants can adapt to environmental changes because of this hybrid nature. The disadvantages of cross-pollination include it is energy intensive, as there should be some mechanisms to attract these vectors or pollinating agents. There is high uncertainty. Pollinating agents should be there for pollination, and dilution of desirable trait. If there is a desirable trait, that may not remain as consistent, as there will be mixing or there will be dilution of the desirable traits down the generation or in the offsprings. So there are certain contrivances or barriers that actually favors cross-pollination or meticulous mechanisms that favors cross-pollination. The first one is dicliny. Dicliny means unisexual flowers, as in cucumber and papaya. There are male and female flowers. This is staminate flower and pistillate flower. So that ensures cross-pollination. The second one is dichogamy. That means stamens and carpels, male and female reproductive structures, mature at different times. There are two types of dichogamy. First one is protandry. That means anthers matures first, as in sunflower. Then there is protogyny. That means stigma matures first, as in magnolia. The next feature is the hercogamy. That means there is physical barriers between organs, as in iris, as in calotropis, that prevents self-pollination. Then there is heterostyly. That is different styles and stamen length, as in primrose. So that ensures the prevention of selfing or self-pollination. And finally, there is self-sterility or genetic incompatibility. The pollen grains falling on the stigma will not germinate because of genetic incompatibility, as in cherry, apple, etc. So these are the mechanisms that actually favors cross-pollination. Now let us see self-pollination. Self-pollination, the advantage is there is reproductive assurance, easy pollination, as the stamens are falling on the stigma of the same flower or of the different flower of the same plant. Without a pollinating need of a pollinating agent, resource efficiency, no need of producing scents or nectars for pollinating agents. There is genetic stability. If a desirable trait is there, that will be maintained. There will be a consistent trait, as there is no genetic diversity. The disadvantage is self-pollination leads to inbreeding depression, continuous self-pollination that leads to loss of desirable traits, and low adaptability, as there is no genetic diversity, more prone to diseases, and there is absence of hybrid vigor that lead to reduction in expression of desirable qualities or traits. Now let us see the factors that favor self-pollination. There is bisexuality, that is perfect flowers with both male and female part, as in pea, hibiscus, rose, etc. So that favors self-pollination. There is homogamy, simultaneous maturity of both male and female reproductive structures, stamens and carpels, as in mirabilis, 4 o'clock plant, or vinca rosea, that is Madagascar periwinkle, or clistogamous flowers we have already discussed. Flowers never open, or closed flowers that ensures self-pollination or selfing, as in viola. Now the final part of our discussion, that is, what are the importance and challenges of this pollination biology? As we mentioned, ensures genetic diversity and hybrid vigor. So successful pollination maintains the genetically diverse plant population that are capable of adapting to environmental changes and resisting pathogens. It is crucial for our global food security, as for 75% of world leading crops, fruits and vegetables depend on animal pollinators. So without a successful pollinator plant network ecosystem, our food security may collapse. So there are many crises. The first one is a pollination crisis, that is a decline due to habitat loss and pesticides. Agriculture has destroyed the natural habitats of wild pollinators. The widespread use of pesticides actually kills wild pollinating insects also, that lead to unsuccessful pollination. And climate change also impacts a lot. Rising temperature changes the flowering time. Flowers may bloom early or late, but the availability or migration of insects or pollinating agents may not happen. So that lead to unsuccessful pollination or prevention of pollination. And finally, using managed bees for crop yield. Due to decline in wild pollinators, Modern agriculture heavily depends on artificially managed single species of pollinators. This monoculture or dependence of a single pollinator may not be suitable. There can be bee-specific diseases or a colony collapse that can lead to shortage of food, or that may lead to a crisis in our food security. So we have started from pollination basics. We have discussed pollinating agents and adaptations of flowers, followed by different types of pollinating agents, then advantages of cross fertilization and selfing, and finally challenges and importance. Hope you are benefited from this video. Take care, stay blessed. Thank you so much. You are with biologyexams4u.com.